Everyone, and welcome to the post-lunch session. Not an easy one, but I think the interesting topic will keep you alive because this is all about Industry 4.0. We saw from 2000 the advent of technology, and on the other hand, the introduction of computerization. But these two tracks, and that was Industry 3.0, and we saw all this development in internet and connected and connectivity, but these two were moving in parallel. So somewhere 4 or 5 years ago, these two worlds came together, and that is where we had this whole concept of Industry 4.0. Now, Industry 4.0 is all about connectivity, bringing technology in the manufacturing processes, smart plants, smart manufacturing, but I wouldn't kind of describe because we have an eminent panelist here with us, and I'll start the discussion with Aravind, who has authored a paper on Industry 4.0. Aravind, why don't you tell us about what does this Industry 4.0 mean for us from an innovation perspective, because this had a profound impact on the whole ecosystem of innovation and IP. Please, over to you.
So, thank you, Anubhav. Such a pleasure and honor to be part of this panel, part of this event. Thanks to Akriti and her team for inviting me again. Earlier I used to attend together. We used to attend Legal Era conferences for the first time in Bangalore, Legal Era conference. So, my panelists have given me a little bit freedom to steal, because each one has only 7 to 8 minutes, steal 1 or 2 minutes from each. So that I'm taking a little bit liberty. And also because this is a post-lunch, I thought let me start asking, because there are groups here who are busy. So how many of you understand, know about Industry 4.0? Can you please raise? Just let me have a quick dialogue so that all of us are in the panel. Prabhuddha, yes, he would know. By the way, he's my senior in Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. So, okay, it's so silent. But let me ask you a couple of more questions. If I ask you a question, how do I describe Tata Motors? How you will say? You say Tata Motors is possibly a car company or a truck manufacturing company or mobility company. But if I ask you a question, and where you need to really answer, not just sit quiet. Suppose I say Tesla is dash 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 company. What is that dash? What is this Tesla?
Smart manufacturing.
Pardon? Smart manufacturing. Okay. What else? I really want to be, because otherwise all of us who are sitting here will be speaking and you may not be in attention. Anybody, what is Tesla? How do I describe a company like Tesla? No? No responses? Only one response? Maybe it's the impact of food. So okay, let me ask the next question. If I ask Cipla, what is Cipla? I say pharmaceutical company. Now I'm asking this question, what is Novartis? Novartis is a very age-old, century-old company, right? How do I describe Novartis today? Can anyone tell?
Pharma research company.
Pharma research company. Thank you very much, coming, engaging with us. Anybody else? So, unfortunately, Tesla is not just a smart manufacturing company. Tesla says we are a data company, we are an AI company, and recently, Elon Musk said we are a robotics company. Look at the way companies are transforming, right? What they make, EV cars. But today they are saying that we are a data and AI company. Now, Novartis, for example, if you go back and just read about Novartis, Novartis says we are not a pharmaceutical company. We are a data company, we are an AI company. So every company today in the world, whatever they are and whatever they were, now they are getting transformed into something called data AI company. Now, why this is happening? What makes this possible? Like one of the Jeff Immelt said that I go to sleep as a manufacturing company, I wake up as an IT company or technology company. Fundamentally, what has changed in the past is that earlier technology was exponentially growing, but in the recent past, technology started converging. The moment technology started converging, of course, one of my colleagues will talk about technologies converging, then this possibility came that a company which is manufacturing, pharma company, started becoming an AI and data company. And this convergence of information technology and operations technology is the result that we call it Industry 4.0. Earlier, we had IT companies, we had operations technology or manufacturing companies, but we never had a company which is together, both IT and OT. That IT and OT, when convergence happens in the company, we are into the fourth industrial era. Now what happens, what does this mean? It's called cyber physical system. It's a digital and physical, when they come together, that forms the fourth industrial revolution. Therefore, whatever is physical, whether you're a pharma company, automotive company, you become an IT company. When IT and OT comes together, that becomes a fourth industrial revolution, cyber physical system. Now, what is the consequence for the innovation? For the innovation, the moment cyber and physical comes together, we start talking about digital twins. Whatever is physical, it will have a digital. So there's a lot of work that is happening in digital twins. So whatever is physical will have a digital. I will not go into detail because of the time. The next is we are talking about now cognitive systems. I can have a production system which is intelligent system. That's why we call it smart, connected, network, intelligent, autonomous system. And that happens because of cyber physical system. That's the fourth industrial revolution. And now the products, which were just standalone products, now those products will start slowly becoming smart, connected products, then it becomes a platform, and that leads to the personalization. I can have extreme personalization in this whole fourth industrial revolution. So the way we used to look at innovation, that is product process or business model, now it no more true. Now we have to get into building or creating products which are smart, connected, network, intelligent and autonomous system. And that's where the big innovation opportunity exists. And therefore, if that ecosystem has to be created, the entire IP strategy will change. I will stop here, Anubhav. I will come back again with more details.
Thank you, Aravind. I think that was a perfect introduction to the whole topic of Industry 4.0. And just imagine, this is not just limited to one industry. This will impact every industry that we are in, right? And supplementing all this is blockchain technologies, AI technologies, 3D printing, right? You name it, all the buzzwords that you are hearing now are all in the mix of Industry 4.0, right? So this will bring together not only the OT, which is operation technologies, but even biotechnology, right? You have wearables now, right? You have chips embedded in your body which can take care of your statistics, right? So the impact of Industry 4.0 and the concept as a concept that we are speaking about will have a very deep and large impact in terms of not only every industry that we are working in, but also it will bring together the manufacturing which was kind of standing alone, or the products which were being manufactured on a standalone basis along with this whole technology. And that is where this Tesla confusion of example my friend gave it comes in. I would request other speakers to chip in terms of what does Industry 4.0 mean to each one of you, because you come in from extremely diverse sectors and even from a legal point of view, Shrimant.
So, Anubhav, for engineering consulting business, we are a consultant. We deliver the project. The engineering consulting, which is a backbone of the future of the 4.0 now. If we see the past industrial revolution, steam engine revolution, IT revolution, they say the next revolution will be the engineering revolution. And the Industry 4.0 is all about the future of engineering. The future of engineering would not be just limited to the design board or the modular designing at the hall, but it will go, 3D printing will go on the street also. You must have heard of China is building a building which is entirely built by the 3D printing. It is not constructed. Similarly, you will find that time is coming when entire machine is being designed and deployed on a 3D printing. It is not manufactured anywhere. So for me, if you ask Industry 4.0 for an engineering consulting business, number one, it is interconnectivity. As Aravind has rightly said, the interconnectivity from the system to the machine, interoperability. We have seen the way the industrial revolution has taken place where human labor was part of the machine. Similarly, we will see now henceforth, the machine is also part of the machine. The command, the control, and the execution, all the three things with the click of a button, with the coding, will happen. And that's where we see that it's going to change in a many way. The other thing which, as Aravind has little bit touched base upon, is about the data. They say data is the next oil. The last century was all about oil and gas industry. This century will be all about data. Capturing the data, capturing the big data, analyzing the data, and giving the required output is going to be a really the game changer for any company or any industry. I was discussing with my friends at the lunch table. He's not here, I think, Swiggy or Zomato. You see how they gather data, how they deliver the project. They are not the hoteler. They don't have restaurants. They just deliver the food. Uber or the Olas, they have the data. Similarly, not only these data would play, but it can break the economy as well. So the security part of the data would be the challenge. So as far as the engineering is concerned and consulting engineering is concerned, it's very important to see that where the engineering is bringing a better tomorrow. That I think would be a real key to the Industry 4.0. With a global population of more than 6 billion, it's going to be really challenging.
Anoop, tell us, you are in one of the new age industries, right? You grabbed the opportunity for a EV scooter. How are you building your factory now?
Yeah, so coming from an industry which is kind of new age as you defined it, and being a pioneer in the particular industry, it came with its own challenges actually. And how I see what Aravind has decided, use the word cyber physical system. Okay, so this is very important word. Okay, when we define the fourth industrial revolution, and we have to just look back a step. Then probably I will come to this. That we are now in the midst of this fourth industrial revolution, or in the beginning of it, I would say. So when we talk about this, if you see for last 300 years, this industrial revolution we are talking about, but last two revolutions, what you have seen, it is skewed. First revolution took from first to second took almost 200 years or something, 100 years. Then another 100 years, and now it is 20, 30 years what we are looking at. If I take the product, so if you see the speed, the convergence, information access, and lot of things they are coming together. So it's impossible now to follow those old practices when we talk about a new age company and all. Because if you, learning is always good. You learn from what is existing, but you also have to adopt with the time. And that's where this whole difference comes in. Utilizing effective technologies, tool, information to give the best possible output. I would simply put the fourth industrial revolution as a human analogy. Earlier, the basic concept was the role of a factory is to produce a product, which is a defined product. Your factory is supposed to assemble itself in such a way that a product has been developed, right? The way we are going in, the way AI is taking in, the gains in generative algorithms and all. Now you see the product is the outcome of factory. So factory is your main thing. What Elon Musk was saying that I am a robotic company. My output is car. And tomorrow my output could be an aeroplane. The day after tomorrow it could be something else. So the way you see it, it's a different problem altogether. Is it now compare it with a human being? as a human being, we can perform different tasks. So this is a running factory that we have. Now, what output I want to get out of this factory would basically define the industrial revolution 4, basically. And that's where the whole difference comes in. If I talk about little more on the fundamental side, so of course, like few things like just now he talked about interoperability. Connectivity is something which is going to be the core backbone of the industrial revolution. Decentralization is going to be another important factor, probably based on blockchain or something like that. Of course, connectivity, as I mentioned, so industrial IoT, because that's something which is very interesting field in itself. Then you have flexibility, because with the technologies like 3D printing, etc., now you are not relied on those traditional ways of doing things. You are like much more flexible to experiment and explore the things, rather than like investing a huge and taking a very minimal risk. So that risk taking capacity or appetite has increased a lot. And of course, these 4 pillars are connected with one single pillar, which is the intelligence, which basically drives the whole industry, which basically helps you in taking certain meaningful output of it. So if you see, Industry 4.0 is nothing but a system which is capable of producing the output that you want, rather than a system which is totally output dependent. So there is a fundamental shift what we are looking into 3.0 to 4.0. I think that's where I will stop.
Very, very well put, Anoop. How do you see the changes in the law with Industry 4.0?
Yeah.
Or what does it mean in your area?
So yeah, first of all, thank you everyone for taking our time. I would like to give my token of thanks to Legal Era and Aravind for having me, and I'm quite humbled to be part of the panel. Life of a lawyer is really difficult always, and that too in IP, and because it's a forward-looking kind of profession as an IP lawyer, in patents also. So what we are talking about 4.0, and I will kind of further Anoop's point. I think the very demarcator is intelligence, the artificial intelligence that comes in at 4.0. Initially, everything was there, data was there, manufacturing systems were there. Every technology sector had their own, progression curves, and human intelligence were there to kind of further explore those professions, and also to kind of amalgamate where required with manufacturing. Maybe biotechnology came in few aspects. Now the intelligence is the demarcator, what I believe, and that too artificial intelligence. So as a lawyer, while yes, we are always excited being patent lawyers of knowing the new stuff, and always trying to convince clients to, have the protection right away, be very aggressive in filing and stuff like that. But with every kind of this change, and we kind of look back upon the earlier kind of breakthroughs that happened. Let's take, the information technology and the IT boom or burst, whatever we may call it. Everybody was so enthusiastic about it, and the investors and IP lawyers and everybody. And it was a boon for many, but it was actually a very kind of learning experience for few investors who were very excited and were not cautious about how to go about it in terms of making their investments, or for that matter in IP also, people who were not cautious about taking the right steps in protecting your IP beforehand, and to kind of again be ahead of the progression curve. That is where perhaps as a lawyer I would say that yes, it is an exciting time. It is a time to innovate, and innovation has this very fantastic capability that it kind of breaks barriers of whatever the legacy is going on. So all these startups and like the newest technology, very much excited, but at the same time I would like to kind of pitch in as a person who would be cautioning people that be very aggressive, right? But do have your data checks, because data is very unique, as Anoop mentioned, like data is the new oil. So it's very, very important now that how you have your confidentiality clauses in place. Very important now that who you are sharing, what kind of proprietary data, and whether that proprietary data is well defined, and are you also keeping in check what the legal obligations are to kind of keeping that data. So I'll kind of elaborate on that further. But for us as a lawyer, because we are very, I would say, sector and technology agnostic, and we have had our experiences with different verticals of technology, we see that a great time to come where innovation will even run faster, and we already see the companies, the main foundation now is innovation, and that will only continue to grow. It's a good time for patent lawyers, I would say, and challenging as well. But yes, that is what I would like to share.
Very, very, very nicely put, Shrimant, because when probably I started my career, I think none of the law firms had a technology practice. Now, if a firm does not have a TMT practice, then it is not big enough or not worth the salt, right? That's the difference that we have seen.
We had hard time in explaining as a patent lawyer.
Correct. So, Vaibhav, you are in a very interesting mix. You are from the old and the new world, right? And you guys are doing products at such a speed that we are amazed sometimes in terms of how Sterlite brings new products, right? And I've experienced in my industry, the automotive industry as well, because the speed at which we are now launching models is much faster than what it used to be 10 years ago, because everything is done on the machines now, right? We have CAD/CAM intelligent systems who can crash test, do safety tests, and that's why we can produce so many models in so little time. How has it affected you? Because you are in a very I would say unique mix.
So absolutely, I think first of all I would like to thank Legal Era to bring me here and give me this platform. I have working with and speaking with such great minds here, and talking to what Anubhav spoke about. Yes, Sterlite, as in Sterlite, we are in a very unique position wherein the products are churning out. The entire strategy, because of this Industry 4.0, which is just starting in a way, it has turned the entire IP strategy upside down in multiple ways. I mean, and upside down means like it's absolutely upside down. Few years back, maybe 5-6 years back, we'll talk about risk coming out from somebody else's patent. We'll track the competition patents, we'll monitor them, we'll take action against them, and we are possibly good to go. But now we are looking at a space where Daimler is being sued by Nokia in Germany and all other places. Why? Because they have got connected cars, they are using telecom technology anymore. So that's the situation with every industry at this point of time. Whatever has been learned, whatever has been the practices that have been laid forward for all of us, those practices do not hold true anymore. The risk really can come up from anywhere. You need to have not only understanding of your own landscape of technology, patents, and what's happening around you, or as in your competition, but you also need to understand what all technology you are adopting from different areas, different domains, different segments. And that's where Tesla comes in, that's where, even for that matter, Sterlite comes in. At a certain point of time, we had our competition clearly marked out. These are the people who we compete with. Now we do not know, in a way, I mean, we have products on AI, we are incorporating those products, some of them are in-house, some of it is open source, some of it is developed, some of it is purchased, some of it comes from a company that we might have acquired, and all of it is going into the network that is being used by, say, AT&T or Verizon or whosoever. So the kind of risk exposure that we are talking about and kind of strategies that are required to mitigate that risk or even survive in that environment, this is very, very different from what it used to be in a traditional way. Now we are looking at extremely early age risk mitigation. What we were talking about early age detection at a certain point of time, we talk about early age risk mitigation. You not only monitor it, you not only track it, you understand it, you identify it, and you mitigate it now. Because by the time you do it, you end up in a Daimler situation wherein they incorporate it, they commercialize it, the product is there in market, and suddenly you are hit by somebody like Nokia. Daimler being Daimler, they were able to handle it, but I think a lot of those companies have disappeared. For example, we talk about Micromax. Nobody hears about Micromax anymore. Intel's phone, nobody hears about them anymore. So the kind of risk at this point of time is way too huge for anybody to not work towards it. But the basic assumptions that we have all grown up with, the best practices that have been established, I think they are up for change, not only from risk point of view, But even from commercialization point of view, the technology that you develop, it was commercializable, licensable in your own domain at certain point of time, not anymore. It's all open, it's all porous. Like what Aravind spoke about, it's a convergence. It's a singularity we are talking about, where everything is needed for everything else. It's a very, very connected world, and yes, it's a good time for being a patent lawyer, like what he mentioned. But then that also means it's very challenging and things are going to change faster than what we are at least keeping up pace with at this point of time. So that's my point of view.
Thank you, Anoop. I think that's the reason we are not surprised when we hear of Google and Apple cars now, right? Because it's quite possible in the near future that these companies may come up with hard manufacturing products, very different from what we know them for now today. But Anoop, you really touched the point in terms of, see, everyone spoke about opportunities which Industry 4.0 brings in, right? And I think that's the fundamental reason for the excitement that all of us have, because it has changed many things for us. And it looks to be a different world when we kind of imagine it, say, even 5 or 6 years down the line, right? So now let me change it gears a bit. Let me focus on the challenges, right? And since you come from all very different diverse industries, and what are the strategies, right, that you would recommend that companies should follow now, right? Because you touched upon that it's the upside world down for you now, right? You think it very differently, the way you monetize IP, the way you even protect IP, the way trade secrets are now being contemplated in relation to, say, patents, right? There's a whole lot of AI patenting issues that are coming, which we had discussed in the morning. There's a whole lot of changes, and of course, I hear a lot of times that the regulations are not catching up with the way technology is moving, but I think this has always been the case, right? It is, and the industry has moved faster, and then the laws caught up, and then they improvised and adapted to it, right? So let me put a question in terms of to each one of you in terms of what are the challenges you see as professionals in your respective industries, and how do you see the change in the strategies, and what strategies would you recommend for our audience today in terms of that you suggest they should look into or they should follow wherever they are in terms of their portfolio management or from an innovation or IP perspective. Now, Sachin, can we begin with you? Yeah.
Yeah. It's working? Yeah. So, coming from engineering consulting company, I tell you, not to criticize anything. 8 साल पहले इंडिया में एक शब्द आया था, स्मार्ट सिटीज. All of you must have heard. And there was initially 25 project, then it added another 25, and more than 100 project was initiated on the smart city. And I tell you, for industry 4.0, hello, you see, industry has spent somewhere nearly around. So Industry 4.0 alone, globally, if I say, there was an estimate in 2021 that $900 billion was spent on Industry 4.0, which include data also, which I said is a new oil. In Indian context, if you see, one smart city is roughly around 2,000 crore, multiplied by 100. So we are talking about 2 lakh crore of investment in the smart city. But on the ground, if you see, what is smart city? What you call as a city as a smart city? That understanding is a challenge. See, the person who has this idea of smart city in the mind, the system, how they adopt this idea is a challenge for them. Whether the light lamp on the street would be smart, it will not only give you the light, it will capture your movement also. It has a camera. It is again connected with your municipal system. the waste truck which is coming, it segregates the waste, it gives you the real-time data that what waste is there. Those were the ideas of the smart cities. And it really took time to get percolate down to each and every level. I'm talking from the experience of engineering consulting. So, according to me, Industry 4.0, see, technology has immense potential. And we see what the deep fake video can do now. But at the same time, we need to understand that what is the original intent of the technology and is it really achieving the outcome? If it is not achieving the outcome, then we are failed as a system. So that's the challenge I feel is an understanding of the creator and experience of the executor. So that's the challenge which is. Strategy, as an in-house general counsel, I make it a point that all these jargons are really captured well in the agreement. There is no ambiguity when I sign with my client because I know that if a project has been conceptualized with the industry 4.0 in mind, the person who is executing that challenge is, I'm not pointing anyone, is a person 65-year-old, 70-year-old person. He has something in mind. And person who is going to code is going to be a 25-year-old guy. So matching these two is a real challenge. And if you do that, I think you are good to go.
So basically what you're saying is that in building a building maybe 10 years ago that was more of a civil exercise. Now, because of these technologies, there is a large part of technology that has come along with the civil part of it, correct? And that's a challenge that you feel. The second challenge probably is the awareness, right? The perception. Maybe the word smart means different things to different people. And what would a smart city mean to the masses, right? And that's a challenge because this is all technology enabled, right? So, thank you, Sachin. Sir.
Alright, so talking about some of the challenges and opportunities, first of all, I just put forth some data actually. So as per ABI research report, which was like recently published, I was just going through the report. They're saying that the cyber crime and the IP theft, especially around this industrial data and riding on the industry 4.0, will double by 2026 with a CAGR of 53%. That is the kind of CAGR that I looked into my investment portfolio rather than the theft portfolio basically. So that is the seriousness of the thing. Even if it is an inflated number and I come down to like let's say 30 or 40% also, it's very high risk that we are looking at, right? That in 3 years your IP theft will double. And that is one of the biggest risks which is there, being one of the challenges. Of course, what it requires is re-strategizing your cyber security, your IP security, how you are going to protect it, what are the checks and balances you are going to have around the data which is now being shared. Because when I was just talking earlier, we talked about the word interoperability. And now when we talk about all these new technical jargons like AI, blockchain, IoT, you have a hardware manufacturer, you have a software manufacturer, you have a cloud backbone provider, you have somebody who is doing your big data analysis. So your data is not a centralized data, it's a completely decentralized data because without sharing that data or a bare minimum information, you cannot function, your company cannot function basically. So when your data is out like that, the challenges with respect to security increases multifold. And with kind of like DDoS attacks and cyber attacks, what we see nowadays, they are getting more and more sophisticated. So one of the strategy for any company is like even before you have like a whole IP filing strategy, what we typically limit ourselves to like, okay, how I'm going to file my patent, design, trademark, or copyright. One of the very basic preparation we need is the data security around it, the cyber security systems in place, which are good enough to protect your data when it is shared across. Okay. Blockchain-based tokenization could be one of the answer over there because it is one of the field which is not utilized still now to its fullest potential. It does give you a kind of satisfaction that your data is secure, or even if it is taken by somebody or theft is there, the possibility of identification of that F is pretty much higher. Talking about another scenario, another challenge. 10-15 years back, IoT was like one of the hottest words in the technology field. Everybody was talking about like IoT, and this is something going to change the world. And it is going to automate your life, your homes will be smart home, and all those kind of things. But tell me, one of the basic challenges which IoT was not able to solve was like things like interoperability, having a common standard or common protocols and all, because everybody was cooking their own meal that time. Every company was having their own solution, which are not fully developed to work with other companies' solution and all. So that became one of the biggest challenge and biggest problem. The same thing, if I translate to current Industry 4.0, the problem is going to be that when you have so many stakeholders in developing an industry, you also need to ensure that interoperability is going to be there. One of the basic things to consider is having either open sources being the contribution within the open sources are pretty active, especially from the bigger industry player, or having the good standard body setting up good standards where the other member of communities, those who are like building a product through their smart factories or something, they can easily adopt to those technologies on brand terms. Otherwise, it will going to be very difficult world if we go more closer and closer and we try to keep the technologies together within a smaller group of people. So that democratization of technology in the form of standards or in the form of open source is another strategical point that one has to consider before we even think of mass adoption of all these fancy technologies. So that is another point that I would like to put forth in terms of strategy one has to consider.
Thank you so much, Shrimant. Now there's a tension now that he has created in terms of, on one hand, as an industry, we want to be collaborative. Interoperability is the key word, right? Because the whole infrastructure will be shared, right? But at the same time, cybersecurity and the demons like that are also coming in, right? And as a lawyer, we are the naysayers, right? Don't do this, protect this. Where is this whole heading to?
I would say we are naysayers for the right reasons. I would kind of just agree with Anoop here that it is a conundrum that you need to definitely be collaborative. And when you open your gates, when you open your house, when you kind of lower down a little bit of access, security, whatever you may call, you also lower it down for people who want to misutilize or maybe take advantage of that data, right? Earlier also data was always precious, right? Like I can say this at least for last decade, data has been very, very precious and it's been safeguarded and there have been legislations and improvement. So what has changed and what are we looking at in future? Data accessibility, definitely, pristine. You need to have higher standards, you need to be ahead of people who are trying to break into your data. But one unique thing that we must take cognizance of is, earlier people were able to get data from different sources, so you have kind of everybody's data here personally as well as the corporate data. It is kind of distributed, some kind of financial data goes to X department or X consultants, some kind of innovation data goes to law firms and patent consultants, some kind of HR related data goes to an hiring agency or something like that. Earlier also people had access or typically the attacks or the cyber attacks were done on these agencies which are securing their data. So one red flag is have a very watertight agreement and well-defined agreement. And I would rather, from experience I have seen, people try to update their agreements by putting these jargons like Industry 4.0, which will actually mean nothing in an agreement, or maybe Internet of Things. So it sounds very fancy, but when you come to interpretation of it, it would mean nothing. So that is something that I have come across many, collaborations and agreements and licensing, even the technology transfer agreements. I am surprised to find very kind of generic words are put in, which is, I think, neither enforceable and very much challengeable. So that is one thing that yes, agreement should be very well defined as possible. We kind of lower the complexity by putting it in simple words, and yes, number of pages would add on, but that is worth it according to me, as simple as you can make it. Second thing, we must also acknowledge the fact that 4.0 has the positives to it. Like we all are saying that the technology would bring in so much new, and artificial intelligence and a lot of human labor would be reduced. It has a negative also. It is a tool. A tool can be used effectively as a positive standard, and a tool can also be effectively used like in hacking purposes, and we have come across certain cases where artificial intelligence is used. One case that I can cite, where artificial intelligence or the bots were used, where the data was kind of procured from more than 7,000 instances of different agencies, and that data was intelligently managed by the computer so as to cross-check and revalidate and have a very precise data of the entire company, and very proprietary as well. I was kind of quite amazed and surprised by the intelligence of the negative side, that how they were able to, shaft it up. So yeah, so that was a very live example of the company then consulting and kind of reaching out to us because we were the retainers there. And we did the due diligence. They kind of stumbled upon that data and they were very fortunate on it. But all the stakeholders were quite kind of surprised. So word of caution again, like everybody else on the panel is saying, like Weber said, that the approach should change. It should be upside down now. It should be more cautious now. Yes, we should always introspect that where and what we are doing with the internal mechanisms that are there. With artificial intelligence coming in, I also believe that at times the accountability is kind of diluted. As far as the human intervention is there, it has one advantage, that a human can be made accountable for stuff, and that accountability actually, kind of is a deterrent for that human being. But now, as the technology is progressing and all the IT minds, the best we have in India, yeah, and they can definitely put in a software where perhaps they would code it and it will keep learning. As I think, yeah. So that is something that one should be careful about. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. We have last 3 minutes, so. And my moderator is already
So,
willingly.
anyway, we'll just wind up now. Very important points, deep insights that we heard. So I will be brief, just to what Vaibhav said. Vaibhav said Nokia filing a lawsuit against Daimler. We never heard Daimler would have got lawsuit from Volkswagen, not from Nokia. Now, one thing that what he was trying to tell is that if Daimler kind of a company wants to build a product, say for example autonomous driving or connected cars, fundamentally you as a Daimler will never have a patent portfolio that covers in entirety. No company, because the amount of technology that is getting into connected, smart connected, intelligent or autonomous driving requires 10 different technologies and 10 different companies or 100 different companies this thing. So fundamentally, IP will come from many different companies. Now, what has been our traditional as IP professionals or IP leaders or R&D leaders, what has been our strategy as far as IP is concerned? I create an IP, protect it, and then I use it for defensive purpose, or sometimes I confront. But sometimes I license for a royalty. That's all. That's our traditional model of IP strategy. Now, what Weber was saying, that if Daimler has to manage all these things, you have to move out of this strategy. The traditional strategy of protecting, confronting, or defending, and getting a royalty. Now, next, what happens is, then you are compelled to work with multiple stakeholders. When you are compelled to work with multiple stakeholders, then your entire IP strategy has to change from that, individual to a collaboration. And in this collaboration, we need to have multiple stakeholders coming together to do a consortium or a pooling. Or sometimes you need to take your IP, which is of may not be in the product, can you use that IP as an Airbnb? Like, I have a patent portfolio based on this, along with a partner, can I build a new innovation and get access to that innovation? That's the way we can go. Can we do the tech ventures, for examples, with IP of multiple people and startup coming in and building a solution which gets this thing. But the last strategy is, because from a product to ecosystem, what happens is that sometimes you have to let go your IP. What Tesla did, because you have to create that ecosystem, you have to create a new industry and a new market. I can't say that I will just keep my IP with me. So then what I do, I open that IP to the world. Now Tesla opened, Toyota opened its IP, Devo opened its IP. Now the entire industry around Industry 4.0 related that is getting evolved, and you get new markets, new industry you learn, and you create a value. So fundamentally, as IP professional, IP leaders, our mindset has to move from protecting and royalty driven to an ecosystem. How do I leverage this? And that mindset will bring the tremendous value in the fourth industrial revolution.
Thank you, Aravind. Sorry, we used this a little time. Yes.
So I guess that is very beautifully captured by Aravind. I'll just try and sum it up in next 1 minute. So my 2 cents here is to handle the challenges that are posed by convergence and singularity of the technologies. We need convergence and singularity in the efforts that we are putting in. Both internal collaboration, legal, IP, technology, business, strategy, they have been working in silos for a very long time. And if you continue to work like this, you will not be able to handle the challenges that are being posed. So internally as well as externally, like what he mentioned, you cannot be thinking about your IP as purely a defensive tool or purely as an offensive tool. You need to collaborate, you need to open up, you need to give space, you need to take space, you need to improvise, bring together partner pool, make them shareable, maybe Airbnb concept. So yes, in short, that this is an era of a massive collaboration that's going to open up. This is an era where it would require internal silos to break, external silos to break, and everybody come together. That's the only way challenges can be managed and tackled. But then, all said and done, it's definitely a good time for pretty much everybody sitting here. A lot of work for all of us.
Thank you so much. I think this was such an interesting.